And as a matter of fact, around the same time, I was at a city about an hour and a half from where I live. I was working down there, and I was saying the exact same story about the fact that hey, I got this piano for free. And one of the women I was telling this to basically told me about she had the same problem, and there was a company in the city that she lived in that removed pianos and for a nominal fee. I'm not sure what it was. And she says to him, "So what do you do with these pianos when you're done?" And he goes, "Do you really want to know?" And she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "We take them to a field and burn them."
Oh, yikes.
It's like there's
Oh,
that many pianos that basically the only way they can get rid of them is by burning them. So it's, yeah.
oh man.
I'm sure all this hardwood too on pianos is going to be, it's like that's also pretty. They must be able to do some stuff with that. So anyway, we're a couple minutes after. I can see that Scott's joined us. Hey, Scott. And we have a small group. So what really is helpful is if you could possibly turn on your video, turn on your video, and basically because it's easier if I am able to see people. So that's my ask. I don't have Teresa joining us right on, so more people, and we are recording live streaming to YouTube, so that is also going on. And we might as well get into the show. So let me just share my screen here, and then.
I'm not very presentable today. Oh.
Okay. Well, that's a matter of perspective, isn't it? So, yeah, so welcome one and all. It is the Here to There show. This is the third Here to There show, and we're coming live from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, my home city. And I just want to thank everyone that's joined us today. And I am going to also record it for myself just in case there's any problem with the live streaming. So let me just take care of that. And here we are. Okay, and now I'm going to record on this computer. Okay, so let's talk about the format today and what we're going to be the basic outline of the show. So I had a guest speaker for Friday, and for those of you that have been to a few of these, I always try and interview my guest speaker for the Widen Your Gaze segment on Friday. And my guest speaker on Friday had to cancel because she had a personal tragedy in her life that occurred in the last couple of weeks. And I don't really feel it's my news to say what happened, but just suffice to say is that when she told me she had just gone through this, it was like, yeah, it absolutely makes perfect sense. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be talking about the webinar that I have coming up on Friday, my fill-in webinar. And then I'm going to be turning it over pretty much to the audience for you guys to ask me any questions that you have about either executive coaching questions or video production questions or how to position yourself in the market. And I do not intentionally have anything scripted for this because I want it to be more of a conversation, and I just want to be able to connect with who's ever here and whatnot and serve you as best I can. So let me just tell you about Friday's webinar, and I didn't have the slide ready for it. So let me just pull it up really quickly here, and I'll be able to find it really quickly. So now, does anyone have any questions that they would like to be answered today? Anything that's coming to mind in your business or the like? Because that would be a good way for me to know how I can help and how I can serve.
I was just wondering about video productions.
Oh, I'd love to talk to you about video productions. So yes,
That'd be
we will
great.
cover that. And I've gone to the wrong screen here. I forgot to set this up, so just bear with me. Okay. Okay, I found it and open with. And now I can share my screen. Thank you for being patient with me. So this Friday, what we have coming up is what they don't tell you when they tell you to quit your six-figure income to, well, they tell you to quit your six-figure income. And this is a webinar on the online space and for people who are trying to make a living on the online space. And this is all personal experiences of what I went through trying to, when I first started trying to make a living on the online space. And I found that the gurus out there all did something very consistent. They all talked about things like how to get yourself in front of people in the market. They talked about, some of them talked about you have to have your area of expertise, you have to know what you're talking about. But consistently, they all make it sound pretty easy. That all you have to do is just, pardon me, just stop trading your time for money. Just stop doing that. You just put an online program and it's easy. Well, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it to begin with. And furthermore, it's not that straightforward. And what they don't talk about is the machine that you have to constantly feed. So I'm going to be using some real world examples of what I actually went through, what I've learned in that process. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm just going to be talking about some of the things that you probably need to be aware of if you're going to, go and make your $1 million on the online space. So I see a few more people have joined us. Welcome, Chris. Welcome, Jerome. Good to see you back. And I will mute you if I'm hearing anything coming through, because it's just a bit distracting and whatnot. So as I heard somebody once say, it's called whack-a-mole. you when the mole shows up when you go to those state or those fairs. Well, that's what I find I have to do sometimes with people's microphones and whatnot, because they just forget, like I do at times. So, okay. So my question, was that Mary that asked about video production?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So what do you want to know, Mary?
Well, I'm trying to put on my website, a video on my website, and I thought that would be really a good idea. What do you think about that?
It's beyond a good idea. I'm going to say it's necessary. So 10 years ago, we're at a place where people were saying, oh, I should really have a website for my business. And it was just like, yeah, we should have a website. And we kind of knew about websites, the importance of websites. But could you imagine today a business that doesn't have a website? Like it just seemed kind of counterintuitive, right? Like something to verify with there. Well, videos are now at that point where it's going to be it's a standard in so many ways, and it's going to continue to be a standard. Cisco Systems predicted in 2018 that by the time we got to this year, 2020, of course they didn't predict COVID, so that's another thing altogether. But what Cisco Systems said is that by 2020, 85% of the content consumed on the internet will be video. And in Canada, it was 80%. I'm not sure why there's a differentiator there between the two, but they said in the United States, 85% of what people are going to do on the internet is video. So, Mary, my question for you is, what industry are you in?
I'm in leadership coaching.
Leadership coaching. So that's a space that a lot of coaches have videos, right?
Yes.
Right. So and this may be a bit more pointed than I want to sound like, but you're already behind because of that, because they have a video and whatnot. So if you visit 3 different coaches and 2 of them talk about their services and what they do and one doesn't, it's likely that people are going to they're going to have a greater impression with the actual coaches with videos than not. But the thing that we need to talk about, and may I give you some suggestions or make some suggestions for you?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I don't want to assume anything here. So the suggestion I would like to make, and this is the problem I see with most video content out there, is it's lacking a particular focus. It's lacking a key message. And by that, I mean, it's like, what do you want to hang your hat on? What do you want to be known for? Are you a Brene Brown fan at all?
Yes, I am.
When you go to Brene Brown, when you watch a Brene Brown talk or go to her website or read one of her books, what are you talking about? What does she cover? What's her focus?
Well, she focuses on empathy,
Hmm.
and I haven't been to her website in a long time. So,
Empathy is the keystone of her work, and that's what it is. But she's gone a bit further for the content I've seen from her, and what she is her. Whenever I watch a talk by her, it's all about vulnerability and shame.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right? No, but she started out with empathy. She did start out with empathy, and then part of I believe she started with, maybe I'm wrong, but I seems empathy seems to be one of the things. But whenever you watch a talk on her, you're going to be hearing about shame and vulnerability. And if you don't want to learn about shame and vulnerability, you wouldn't go to her site. Like if that's just too close to home for you, you wouldn't go there. But other people know that what they're going to get. So my question, Mary, for you is what what do you hang your hat on? What is special about your coaching practice?
Well, my mission is to help leaders be more supportive and be more like servant leaders. I
Okay.
like the concept of servant leadership.
Okay. So that is a philosophy that you have.
Hmm.
And remember, we're all, wow, pardon me, just one second. I have to clear my throat here. I'm just going to mute because, sorry about that. So we, one of the things I like to say is the quote, and I don't know who said it, is that we're all tuned into one radio station only, and that is WIIFM. What's in it for me? And so part of what I think we forget about at times is there's a premise of saying this is what I do, but people don't care about that because they want to know how you're going to solve their problems. They're also going to want to know how you make their lives better, or basically what's going to be better for them on that. So the problem I see with people with videos or any on their website is that they talk about what they do and no one cares. It's just like, how are you going to solve my problems? I have this degree, I have this background, I've trained in this particular process, I've worked with people this many years, blah blah blah, and people don't care. They don't care. What they care about is how you're going to solve my problems. And the faster somebody can identify what problems you solve for them, the more likely you're going to have better engagement, because the whole process is about having people lean in. You were on my calls when I talked about this, right? The
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So when people are talking about their background and what they do and how they like to help people, they're selling the features. They're not selling the benefits. They're not talking about what problem they're solving. They're talking about the drill bit. So this drill bit, it's a carbon drill bit. It was laser cut. It was machined on the highest technology, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Will it cut me a hole? Yes, it will. Will it make a mess when it cuts a hole? Will it cut a clean hole? Yes, it will. Okay, that's all I care about. I don't care about this stuff. So so what so who so Mary, who pays for your services?
Well, I don't have any paying clients now.
That's fine. That's fine.
So
You
it's,
will. No,
yeah.
but ideally, who will be paying for your services?
Well, leaders in industry, and I focus on aviation
Oh,
and also healthcare.
aviation. I have my pilot's license. You just got my attention.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah. So, so tell me what. I get. I see a clear path on healthcare. I don't see a clear path on the aviation. Why aviation as an industry that you've identified? It's great.
Well,
There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just curious.
yeah, well, I worked at Gulfstream Private Jet,
Oh,
a manufacturer, and I was in Savannah at the time, and then I got laid off. by Gulfstream after 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
What was your role with Gulfstream?
I was an organization development
Okay.
consultant,
Okay.
and I worked with exclusively with engineering there.
Wow, they could use your services.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
they could definitely. So that's a very cool identification of a niche that that you can work with on that, especially since you've been in the industry and you've seen the problems with it and
Mhm.
some of the issues. What's the ratio of women to men in the industry, aviation specifically?
I think there are only 4% engineers out of the whole dominant group. They were definitely males.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing is I'm just going to take a pause here, and if until I see that other people actually have questions, wait, I see there's something else in the chat here. Um, Thanks for putting your information there. I'd like everyone else to follow Scott's lead and put your contact information in there. That's good. So I'm just letting everyone else know, and this is Zoom user Teresa, Susan, Scott, Chris, all those. Unless I know there's another question that people want to answer for yourself, I'm going to spend as much time on Mary as possible because she is the one that has raised her hand. So if you want me to actually look at one of your problems or help you with one of your problems, I need to know that other people have something they want to talk about. So just fair warning, and unless I know that you have something you want to ask me, I'm going to be staying with Mary. And is that okay with you, Mary?
Yes.
Good to see you,
I
Chris.
was, yeah, I was wondering if I should put a coaching demonstration on my website.
Well, I would so with a mock client or a real client.
With a mock client.
Okay. And who would the mock client be?
Um, yeah, my daughter.
Okay. Okay. So that might not be. I'm not saying that that's not a good idea, but let's go back to. Um, have you've been to some of my webinars on defining your avatar and your ideal client, and
Yes, I have.
yeah, on that. Okay.
Mhm.
So um, who would you rather work for, the healthcare, or you said it was healthcare besides the aviation industry?
Yeah, I was at Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center recently.
Okay.
I spent 2 years
So
there. Yeah.
okay, so aviation and healthcare.
Hmm.
So um, do you think that possibly there is the or I'll just say this, your messaging is going to need to be very different from the healthcare messaging to the aviation messaging on that. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think they're two different industries,
Yep.
definitely. Yeah.
What else about those two different industries?
Um, they have different focus.
For sure, minimally. Yep. What else?
Mm-hmm. Um,
There's another huge distinguisher between the two industries.
um, not really sure.
Gender.
Oh, gender, definitely. Yeah, healthcare is many more women
Right. Right.
in healthcare. Yeah, definitely.
So
So,
if you do a video of a mock coaching session with someone, and you present that to the aviation industry, they probably won't get it. They probably won't understand it because you're not even, if it's predominantly men and you show women, they're going to self-select out. Does that make sense?
yeah, maybe I need to do two different videos, one for healthcare and one
Um,
for aviation.
there when it comes to what problems you're solving for them, there's going to be far two different industries. So the aviation is, I would say, is more about tasks and business and black and white thinking. And it's like, we do this, where the healthcare industry has a whole lot more. I would say there's more soul to it. There's more heart. There's
Yeah, there's
more.
definitely more nuances. Yeah.
It's right, because what you're doing is that you're dealing with people's lives in the healthcare, and so there's a whole different thing. And furthermore, the people that work in the healthcare industry are probably, if, and this is a wide paintbrush, and I don't like simplistic statements, but for the sake of this conversation, if we could just go with a very, very simple statement, people in the healthcare field would tend to be more caregivers than people in the aviation field,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right?
definitely noticed that with
Right.
Gulfstream. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and because it really is a male dominated business. That it's like, we build airplanes, right?
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and and the thing I find with individuals who are in a very cerebral space, as in like they figure out problems, that they work with math, they do other things like that, those individuals, it's feelings are probably something that they're not as used to or as much as they are comfortable with. And part of leadership has to deal with feelings and emotions.
Oh, yeah, because there is one guy that I knew at Gulfstream, and he came from Boeing, Seattle,
Yep.
and so he was a very, very good leader. And so maybe I could interview him.
Well,
You know?
part of the thing is, so what's the purpose of interviewing, taking a video of your process? What would be what's the outcome of that you want for people to see?
Well, that I'm a good coach, or
Right,
that yeah,
right,
a coach.
right.
Yeah.
So in that process, when they're watching what you're doing on that, it sounds like you're hoping that they'll identify what you do and say, oh, I want some of that. I want to hire Mary for my coaching.
Yes, that would be my
Yep.
ultimate goal. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I I I think the thing that might be inherently problematic with that is that I don't know if people are going to watch through a full coaching session before they're going to come to that conclusion. I think that they might self-eject sooner than that,
Oh, okay.
right?
So maybe I could keep it at 15 minutes or something like that, or
15 minutes is a really long time to ask for
oh,
someone.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, because what's the commodity you're asking people to pay to watch your video?
Their time.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
So, and if we are focused on what's in it for me, and they see a video time coaching with that on that, then there's I don't think you're going to have the engagement of that. The YouTube viewers I really respect and like. If they have a video over 10 minutes, I probably don't watch it. And those are ones I don't subscribe to many. Actually, I subscribe to very few YouTubers, and the ones I really like, I I still will opt out for the time on that, because I just don't want to spend that much time on a video,
Did you
unless
say,
unless it's a topic that is really I find very interesting and whatnot.
did you say
So
3 minutes?
well, this is one of the questions I get to on a regular basis, and is like, what's the ideal length of a time for a video? And my response is not very popular with people. And I said, the length of your video has everything and nothing to do with your video. The length of your video is not the issue. It's about relevancy.
Okay.
If the video is not relevant, then basically people aren't going to watch, even if it's 10 seconds long. Well, they spend 10 seconds and realize it's not relevant, right? But
Mhm.
but it's all about the relevancy. I always refer to my 16-year-old son, who just got home from school and is doing his homework over there. And what I will tell people is, my son will watch 40-minute videos on history. Why? Because it's relevant to him. He cares
Mhm.
about it. And these are really simplistic videos. These are these video, like, we're talking very simplistic. They have a body. They don't have arms. They have hands that kind of float out in front of their heads. Their head floats out in front of them, and they don't even have legs. And it's just these very simple figures. But the videos are not like, they're 40 minutes long, and he'll actually pay attention to the whole thing because he cares about the content.
Yeah.
So if our content isn't relevant, it doesn't matter how the length of it is. They're still not going to actually um, no one's going to actually, they're not going to have the engagement. And then we need to get into that sweet spot of what does your client care about and how do you make yourself relevant to them?
Maybe I should just go with my mission, tighten up my mission.
Well, it's, yeah, your vision. Well, that's probably would not, well, I'd have to see it to know if that's something on that. But part of the thing is that your video is part of the package of your presentation. You don't make sales on your videos, or it helps your sales process. It's not the final on that. And I'd like to go back to part of your core message in this, because I do think video is the way to go on that. But I'm going to talk about a YouTuber, one of my favorite YouTubers, and just to illustrate my point. So, and you may have heard the story, I sometimes tell it. So I like videos on science and technology. I'm interested in them, and I'm interested in things like landslides, why that happens, uh, things on space, new technology, things on aviation. I love to watch aviation because I have my pilot's license. But something I kind of like watching is slow motion videos. And there's these guys out of the UK called the Slow Mo Guys. And I watch them, and they do crazy things. Like they're adults, they're adult men, but they're really a couple of teenagers, because they do things like build Lego sets and then take a Lego jet and throws it into a Lego city. They build this Lego city and then take a Lego jet and crash it into the city, and then show all the Lego pieces pluming around and going around that. They put an airbag inside a microwave and made it go off, and showed the airbag do that. They did a video on a cannonball coming out at the end of a cannon. So I kind of find that stuff interesting, but it's kind of limited on that. So one day, about a year and a half ago, what comes across in my news feed is this guy doing a video on a bullet breaking the sound barrier. Thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of find that interesting. And so I watched his video, and he had to endorse an author on audible.com, because that's who his actual client, where that's who his sponsor was audible.com. So he covers a book from a senator somewhere in the United States, and what the senator is saying: we're not talking to each other, we don't communicate well with each other, we need to do better at hearing each other's point of view out. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, and I watched it, and whatever. So I watched the bullet breaking the sound barrier, him talking about the science behind it, his cover, and I left the video. And I thought, wait a minute, I watched that all the way through. How is it that a video that talked about bullet breaking the sound barrier, and a senator doing a video on community engagement, how is it that is at all remotely connected? Well, his YouTube channel name. And his YouTube channel name is Smarter Every Day. So Dustin from Smarter Every Day is an engineer. He did a video where he interviewed Barack Obama when Barack Obama was in power about he was one of the few YouTubers that actually got in front of Barack Obama. He got to talk to the senior people at Facebook, because on how Facebook is being used inappropriately to influence behaviors on people. He did a video on how light goes through water, how lasers go through water. He did a video on his kids losing their drone in a tree in the forest, and they couldn't find it, but they could hear it because it was still on. And the video was on echolocation. He did all this. Why? Because his YouTube channel name is Smarter Every Day. And when you're smart every day, anything that educates people, you have full license to. He has full license to do a video on it. But the slow mo guys can't interview Barack Obama because they're the slow mo guys. They can't go to Facebook because they're the slow mo guys. They can't talk about lasers going through water because they're the slow mo guys. And when we have a core message that what we hang our hat on, like Brene Brown about vulnerability and shame, then what ends up happening is that that's part of our brand. That's what people know us for. And that's what people will come to expect. Everything I do is based on one of two things. either clarity or distinction. If I'm not talking about how I bring clarity to people or what I do to bring clarity to people or my process of bringing clarity to people or how I make people distinct, then I'm off my message. And that's all I focus on. And as a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I rebranded from Bare Bones Video Productions to Bare Bones Communications because I had a consultant say to me, Luke, you say you do video production, but when you go to your website, it's all about message crafting. And he goes, you're confusing people. Are you a video producer or are you a message crafter? I said, I'm a message crafter. He goes, well, Bare Bones Video Productions does not is confusing because that's not what people expect to see. When they go to your website, they expect to see technology. They expect to see drones. They expect to see this massive vistas of these beautiful expanses of a drone or something on that. You talking to audiences about their messages. So on his advice, I rebranded and I pivoted from Bare Bones Video Productions to Bare Bones Communications. And let me ask you this. If you saw my branding as Bare Bones Video Productions, would you think I had anything to bring to you if you weren't interested in videos? About your messaging, about your, yeah, it'd be, thanks, Chris. Nice to see you on that. Because Bare Bones Communications is, I'm going to teach about communications, but I'm not teaching about, and I do video productions on top of that, right? Did I, since I can't see you, I'm not sure if I've lost you. Are you still with me, Mary? We good so far?
I'm still with you.
Okay. So there's a lot of, it's beyond merit. There's a lot of value when you know what you hang your hat on that, and then your content is always going to be around what you hang your hat on and whatnot. And if you watch someone's video that you and 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 120 seconds, 3 minutes, whatever, and you walk away from that video going, I have no idea what the hell they just talked about or what that key message was, then they haven't done the work either.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm worried now that I'm overwhelming you with too much information.
Well, you've given me a lot to think about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my daughter is a video photographer or whatever,
Oh.
video maker.
Oh, a videographer. Oh, so you have that talent at your disposal.
Yeah, definitely.
That's excellent.
So I think I'm going to just focus on my mission.
Well, let's go back to WIIFM.
Yeah.
So when I asked you, 90% of the time, whoever's going to sign off on an invoice or take out their credit card is who we sell to. But there are certain times, and that's the bulk of the time, is that who's ever going to approve the expenditure is really who you're selling to. But there are some times when that doesn't actually go on, where you actually have multiple customers you have to sell. So I'd like to illustrate with a point. We talked about the piano when we started this call, and so I have a piano teacher for my daughter. Well, my daughter's piano teacher is working with Sarah, but we're the one that hired her. So the user in the case is actually my daughter, but we're the fee payer. We're paying out of pocket for the piano lessons. So who does the piano teacher need to market to? The children or the parents?
Probably the parents.
Right. Same thing with if you're going to be doing leadership coaching and whatnot, who's going to be paying out of pocket, not out of pocket? Who's going to be paying for your services?
Kind of the industry.
The industry on that, the company or whatnot. So what we've just learned some very important information from this. So one of the things is that who you're selling to is not your end user. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And furthermore, what was the other thing with that? There was another point, but it went out of it escaped my head. So why would a decision maker within a company, what problem are you solving for them?
Well, they want their leaders to be more effective and to have more relationship with their teams.
Okay. So that's and I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm going to be a bit of a silly bugger here and just be a bit adversarial. Who cares? So better lead with my teams. Like what do businesses care about? Businesses care about saving money, saving time, which is
Oh,
really saving money.
results. Yeah, they definitely care about results. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to be in the back of their mind. Any business leader is going to be ROI, return on investment. So one of the things is what, and this is under the presumption that they actually have set money aside for leadership. We're just going to go under that presumption that they actually have already set a budget aside for that. Because if they don't have a budget for it, then you're having to get them to come up with the money from something else.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah,
Right.
that's
So this is part. Now what we're doing is we're starting to identify some of your ideal clients on this. So one of the things that would be important is that you go after companies that actually have money already set aside for this, as opposed to having to generate it, or because it's really where they taking it from. That's the thing. It's if it's a line item in their budget about that professional development is something they've set money aside for, that's going to be very different of, well, where's this discretionary, where are we pulling from this, where are we getting this money from, and who's, and what program are we going to have to take it from? So if they have it set aside, then that's a easier sell, because they clearly already believe that it's important on that. So that's just a distinction to make. But well, the question still comes down to, how are you saving the company time and money?
mm,
And Mary, everyone struggles with this. This is just
yeah.
not you. I struggled with this my first years of business. So it's
I think Gulfstream and Boeing have laid off employees recently, and
okay.
also as Fred Hutch laid off people.
Uh,
So
is that a COVID related thing?
yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So businesses want to know how you're going to save them time and money. It's like, okay, you want me to find money for this to go on that. Well, what's our return on investment?
Hmm. Well, people who coach their employees or mentor their employees are uh, are better at emotional intelligence.
Yeah, but how's emotional intelligence going to pay the bills, Mary?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And again,
Oh,
this, but just know that this is not easy, and people struggle with that. So I actually have, if you want, I can give you some of the answers on this, or insight. I took off my glasses and now I need to see. Okay, just want to make sure there's nothing else in the comment. So an angle I would have you consider or think about is the angle of staff retention.
oh, yeah. Well, Gulfstream basically they have um, stay interviews or whatever that everybody's supposed to do.
Hmm. I don't like. I'm not sure if I don't know what that is. We might have a different term for it up here in Canada.
Well, that they want people to stay.
So a stay interview is to
Yeah,
find out what they're
yeah,
not happy with.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Do you think that's effective?
Well, some guy that I used to coach at Gulfstream sent me the retention
Yeah.
information. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Is it working for them?
I think it is because they're losing people left and right because engineers have different ways to, they're highly talented. And so they've got a lot of places that they could go.
There certainly is a lot of truth in that, whatnot. I think part of the problem with, let's just look at exit interviews, giving people exit interviews on that. I think that, yeah, you're going to get a certain portion of the population that's going to be straight on their exit interview about what really happens, but I don't know how effective they are for actually truly getting people to talk about what the issues are, whatnot, especially if they're worried about a referral or it's somehow coming to bite them in the ass.
Oh, yeah. I
So,
think that people are reluctant to say anything about
right.
corrective behavior or whatever.
That's right. That's right. So they have a they have a process which they think is good or that's going to be meaningful to them, and it may be. I don't know. I'm not here to suggest it's not working. The however it is that when businesses are, and maybe how long ago were you at Gulfstream?
2017. That's when they
Okay.
laid May of 2017.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so yes, a bit of time under the bridge on that.
Yeah.
So so the angle I would talk about, or the angle I would develop, or have you consider, is the angle of the cost of losing staff. What is the cost of bringing on new hires?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's many things that go into the actual expense of bringing on new people, and some of them are going to be that when you're losing people, and we're not talking because the money's not there, we have to lay people off. We're talking about people voluntarily leaving. We're talking about people moving on. And there's that one statement I say very often: you never leave. It's not mine, it's somebody else, but you never leave a job, you leave a
Boss.
right.
Yeah.
So if you have an ineffective leader, if you have a leader that's basically um, leaves a lot of crap in his wake, people are gonna go, it's not worth it. I'm like, why are we putting up with this and whatnot? And there, I think, is your angle, because I'm actually working with a coach, a leadership coach right now out of Maryland, and these are some of the things that she's dealing with. So you're kind of getting the short end of me working with my other client on this, and so for them to, so let's look at some of the other things that we have to consider with um, hiring a coach for one of my staff. So if I have a leader that really needs some leadership training and mentoring, and I realize that that's inherently problematic, or that they have some problematics on that, I have to consider things like this: A, money; B, time; results. When it's going to come on that. So do you think those three things are reasonable, Mary? About the how long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost? And will the person be better off after we're done with them?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all like fair
Yeah.
assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought so. So those are objections that that if I'm asking, because I've spent a lot of time in a senior management role, and if I'm thinking those questions, I almost guarantee that the um, the decision maker is also going to be asking those and wanting to know about that. So that's part of your sales funnel, and that's part of that's about being able to say, this is what my process is, this is how long it takes, and this is what you can expect as a cost. Because
Mm-hmm.
and these are what results you may get. You can't make promises on the results, because it's not as if it's like you'll lose 50 pounds in 10 days in my, well, whatever, you lose 50 pounds in 6 weeks of my process. There's a guarantee. But we're talking with people and whatnot. We're talking about interacting with people, humans changing. That, how do you predict that? Because we're a fickle lot to begin with. With me so far, or have
Oh,
I
because I'm thinking that the angle of staff retention, because people with layoffs happening, they're really scared about, and then they bail out. So I think that that's a good angle. Definitely.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Who, when you said they bail out, who's they?
Well, when there are layoffs happening,
Yeah.
people tend to, and engineers are highly skilled,
Yeah.
so they would tend to bail out, um, yeah, reluctantly.
I, Chris is sorry. I'm not sure if you're raising your hand or if you want to.
Yeah, kind of. It's a very small detail, but it could be but I would actually call it not retention, but avoiding turnover, because sadly, there will always be people that you do want to get rid of,
Yeah.
Very
or
good
you do
point.
want to, or you do want to help move on.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if Mary's ideal client is what see, I would assume that a company would put resources behind someone that they see has potential or is a diamond in the rough. The same thing, right? So they see somebody that has great potential, but they just don't know what they don't know on that. So what will happen is they won't throw those resources behind someone that actually, or they'll likely make it less available for people they don't want to keep.
Well,
So
worked
yeah,
with
so, pardon me.
I worked with a lot of staff scientists who were totally arrogant,
Hmm.
and they didn't get rid of them at all.
Well, and it comes down to it really does come down to if they're seen as irreplaceable or whatnot, or better
Yeah,
the devil you know than the deep blue sea. Also on top of that,
well, that's true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So so if you're so in the case, and just to revisit this, who you're working with is not the same person who's going to sign off on the invoice or basically approve that. So you do have actually your sales process, and this is so important with with your avatar identification, is who actually you're selling to. And in this case, if you're selling to the decision makers, then that's a very different video than selling to the people who actually might be getting the leadership. Does that distinction make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Because I'm going to executive teams. They'll
Right.
make a decision. Yeah.
Right. So then it's really about what's, will this person, will this coach on leadership be able to salvage the person? And and I use that word very intentionally, because part of um, what we're talking about is often when someone's been identified as a poor leader, it almost is too late,
Yeah,
because
that's
because
true.
they
Yeah.
they have they have they have done they may have left a lot of stuff in their wake. They may have been inherently, they culturally inappropriate, culturally insensitive, maybe sexually inappropriate or insensitive, just putting people off. And then so part of if I have a leader that's under me and I see that they need help, well, I I'm not going to be likely to help someone if I think they're a lost cause,
Hmm.
unless I'm just putting services to say we did what we could so we can get rid of them. So big distinction there. So
Hmm.
in the executive team that you're talking to and that you're wanting to get them to agree or sign off on your invoice, then what really needs to be identified is how their investment is going to reap. They're going to reap the rewards of their investment, and it is not their job to figure that out. It's your job to be able to adequately describe that and express how your services is going to make that company better.
Yeah, I'm going to have to think more about return on investment.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that right now if you'd like.
I think I've got too much information.
Okay. Okay. You're getting
Uh,
full, are you?
yeah.
I tend to do that. So yeah.
Uh,
Um, so wow, that's been almost an hour at the top of the use. I haven't seen that there's any other people saying they want to ask some questions. So because we're almost at the top of the hour, I'm going to show a silly video of where I came up with bare bones communications, and this is the early stages of me doing this. So They get more polished as we go along, but I'm going to show that, and then we're going to go into the second hour and then see where we're at. So let me just share let me get this set up, and okay, so put this here, put this here, and so tonight's computer sound, video clip. Okay, this is the bare bones on Worry by Robert Downey Jr. It is 120 1 minute 20. So yeah, 80 seconds long. And so let's go. We're going to play it.
Welcome back to Bare Bones Videos. I'm Luc Bouchard, and this is my handsome co-host, Phil. As usual, Phil has some pretty insightful words for us. And today, our quote comes from Robert Downey Jr. And Robert says, "Worrying is like praying for something that you don't want to happen." Well, I guess for the man who is Iron Man, he doesn't have to worry about much because, you know, he's got it all together. Phil, what do you have to say about Robert's words? Don't worry about those who talk behind your back. They're behind you for a reason. Well said, Phil. Well said. I like your attitude. Thank you very much for watching Bare Bones Videos. If you have a favorite quote, please send it to us. And if you do, I'll send you a picture of Phil and I. You take care, and there'll be another one coming up right away. Bye now.
So did everyone hear that? Because I got a message that it wasn't sharing. Did it come through? Because it came through on my screen, so I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, got it? Okay. So Zoom user said it wasn't playing, so maybe that was right before. So we're going to take just a 1 minute break. I have to use the washroom because this is a 2 hour conversation. So we're just going to I'll be back in 1 minute. And use it if you need to go to the bathroom, you need to get something, but I'll be back right away. 1 second.
I have a friend in Savannah that calls it washroom every time.
Well, it sounds like I missed the part of a good story. So,
Well, I have a friend in Savannah who's Canadian.
oh, okay.
She calls it washroom every time.
Oh, and what do you guys call it?
Restroom.
Restroom. Well, there we have a Canadianism. I have a client who refers to it the little boy's room, and like he's 62. I'm thinking some things never go away.
Yeah. Sure.
Probably the lady who set up your appointment. I notice you're speaking tomorrow for King of Prussia, Philly Great Starts.
That's
Did
correct.
you deal with Lynn Williams on that?
Yep.
She does a training on Saturdays for LinkedIn. That's 3 hours, I think. And halfway between, they have a break, and she calls it a bio break.
Maybe I should go with that on that.
Which I'm like, bio? That sounds like, okay, you write your bio and your profile. I'm like, oh, bio.
Right.
Oh, biology. Okay, I got it now.
Now it makes sense.
It took me a while the first time I heard it.
Right. Cool. Okay, so Mary, are you good? downloaded enough to you? I'm assuming you
Yeah.
said you were okay.
Yeah,
So
so-
who else would like to talk about what they're struggling with? No one else? Susan, Scott, Teresa, Zoom user, Chris?
Just actually for me personally, it's just actually your meeting the other Friday, which I wasn't actually going to attend, and I did. The emotional one. That's probably in a way dealing with what I'm dealing with the most.
Right.
Just episodes, outbreaks all day long, and today it was a major fuss fest about the socks being too thick to wear with her new sneakers.
Right.
And it's just impossible to concentrate with all that.
Right. Right. So being able to focus and
Yep.
deal with what you need to in the moment.
Or feel like if I skip a meeting, I'm going to miss something. But then I go some days from 8:30 in the morning to 10:30 at night in meetings, and sometimes 2, 3, 4 of them at a time.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you're definitely experiencing Zoom fatigue, eh?
Yeah, getting a little better.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the big takeaways from that? It was communication fundamentals you're referring to, Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, since I missed a lot, basically, I mean, I know it. I just have to try to keep myself in check, and because the calmer I am dealing with it, the shorter it usually lasts.
yeah, because
And
often
2 seconds later, unfortunately, that's part of the problem. As soon as she sat down in front of her Chromebook, she was smiles. But that's the thing is, they are on their electronics way too much.
Yep. Yeah, I certainly can relate to that with my kids and whatnot. So yeah. Well, I'm glad that was beneficial for you. You'd mentioned that at the time, but
Yeah.
still, it's nice to hear and whatnot.
It
So
was like perfect timing too, that when you were talking about your daughter, I had just dealt with
Right.
her on that.
right. So the bulk of my content, a good portion of my content on my YouTube channel actually deals with it's more of an emotional based stuff. So and it was specifically focused when I started YouTube. When I started doing my YouTube videos, they were all focus was for men. And I did a 72-day challenge. Did you ever hear me refer to this or talk about this, Scott?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I went to California 7.5 years ago, went and saw Brendan Bouchard at Experts Academy. And that's when he actually had said, videos are here to stay. And either you can get ahead of them or get behind them. It's up to you or be lagging behind them because they're here. And that was one of the things he was certainly correct on. And so I came home, bought a whole bunch of video, like I bought a designated video camera, wireless mics. That's my reminder to show the video at the top of the hour. Anyway, I bought wireless mics, lights, a video camera, tripod, the whole thing, and I started shooting video content. And I chose to take on a 72-day challenge where for 72 days I uploaded new content to the YouTube. And I knew that my content was long back then. I was very cognizant of the fact that it was longer than what was normal for someone just starting to do videos. But my intent was to develop enough muscle memory, if you would, where when I got in front of the video camera, I'm not worried about the sound. I'm not worried about the angle. I'm not worried about being in frame. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. All I'm focusing is on my messaging. And so I started shooting content, and on day 30, as the story goes, I realized after I shot my content that I wasn't worried about all the stuff that I was normally worried about, like cameras, lighting, sound, all that kind of stuff, right? I could just shoot my content and focus on that. So it was like, 21 days to form a habit. Took me 30 on that. And then 2 days later, I shot a video called How Men Keep Themselves Emotionally Detached, day 32. And that video seems to, is the Energizer Buddy. It goes and it goes and goes. And I'm at, I don't know, 45,000 views or something right now with it. And that 19, it's anywhere from 17 to 21 views a day, because it just keeps going. And I still get comments on it today. And I shot that in 2013. So in that, what my focus was specifically was on for men. And in that 72-day challenge, let me just see here. I think I have it really handy. I had to set it up in a way that was going to have sustainability, because that was 10 weeks of content. And I think I have it handy here. And I had to really decide what specifically I wanted my content to be on. And so this is not it. Okay, I won't look for it anymore. Anyway, so every week had a theme or a focus. Every week had a focus, and then every day had a very specific theme. So day 1 was about how men communicate. Day 2 is how men are in relationships. Day 3 was how men are as fathers. Day 4 was, I forget what day 4 was. Day 5 was about my coaching practice. Day 6 was I taught something like cooking skills, or when I took my kids camping, I did a video on how to make a campfire. And then on day 7, I interviewed other men about being men on that. But in that process, I talked about the male condition, primarily focusing on what it is on that. And so with that, one of my focus was specifically, and I'm going back to the video, day 32, how men keep themselves emotionally detached. It's on how we distance ourselves from our emotions, because we're not socialized to deal with our emotions, and we're not, it's not modeled to us. We're not socialized. And furthermore, we're not hardwired to deal with that. And so that was something that I focused on and what we do on that. So I have a whole whack of content actually that is on helping men be more grounded and centered, and so that basically we're better fathers ultimately on that. And actually, Scott, I have a video series called It's Not the Content, It's the Glass. And if you send me an email, I'll send you the links to them. I release them out. If you're interested, if that's something you think might be beneficial, you could watch the first. If you're not in, if they don't capture your attention, you don't have to watch them. But I'd be happy to send that to you, because it really talks about our behaviors and what we do. So if you'd like that, you can send me an email and I can send that to you. And as a matter of fact, if anyone would like that, I'd send that to everyone here on that. I'm not just going to send it to one person.
Yeah.
So
send you email or as a messenger thing. Okay.
Whatever it is I just need your email, and I don't want to have to look for it. So if you want to put it in Zoom right now, wait, is it in Zoom right now?
Yeah, it's in my big message.
Okay. So can you just put in your email address in there, yep. and then I'll send you the links to it. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to send that to you, Chris, too. Yeah, so if you guys want it, just give me your email, and then I'll send that to you. Okay, so my question is, what questions do you guys have? We have, what time is it now? We have another 55 minutes before we're done. So would anyone like to ask a question about executive coaching or video productions, or positioning yourself as an expert in the market, or your branding? Anything that I have in my wheelhouse, I'd be happy to talk about. Thank you, Mary, Scott, and Chris for your email address. So I think I knew yours, Chris, but that's good.
Yeah, I have a sort of a comment and a question.
Okay.
So a comment is that, a comment is that something I've seen and heard of very often is that if someone who is an expert at solving a big problem for a big company can very easily, if they get the right thing, solve the same problem for smaller companies and still charge competitively, because smaller companies need the solution even more than the big companies.
So your price
And
has to be scalable. Yep, makes sense.
And for example, my one of my grandfathers worked for like in plastics, like a couple big companies, like an executive for like maybe 5 plants in the like the northeast area of America. And he kind of retired and decided to do the same thing with a much smaller plant in the middle of Massachusetts, and it worked out for him.
And that was because he was just same thing, just different pile.
I would say that he was able to apply similar executive his management style for a much smaller plant that he took over, and it all worked out great. And put give my dad a job, give my aunt a job. My grandparents got to travel for years. It was just really awesome. But a question I have is, okay, if someone is solving a small problem for smaller companies, is there a good way to scale up to bigger companies?
What a good
Bigger
question.
problems.
I would assume yes, but I'm thinking that the bigger problems might be more complex, and you might not have the area of expertise for the more complex problems. So let me see if I can ground this in an example for myself. And yeah, I don't know if yeah, I think that I would have to admit that if let's say McDonnell Douglas wanted to be a contractor for the US government, I don't know if I would really be the best person for him on that. So I think that would be that'd be an example of out of my wheelhouse. And part of the thing is that if you can't admit your limitations in your branding, then you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. So there is something very powerful of capping out where you want to work with people, but I'm not sure if I'm even answering your questions, Chris, on that. I think there might be some inherent problems with credibility primarily about how if you haven't worked with a company this big, if you've worked for companies that are a million revenue and less, can you work with a company with 100 million? And I would say I would have a hard time actually believing somebody could do that. What do you think?
I would say the same thing, unless you could sell a specific service that a bigger company would need.
Right. So I think I think there's going to be some inherent issues with that on that. I'm not sure where your comment is coming from to begin with, Chris.
My question?
Yeah.
So, so one of the things I've been looking at is, okay, given my, because I went from years of programming for for like text messaging, the short message text messaging service for like about 15 years, and ended up pretty much getting into like mobile application databases, which is still which is still, I mean, it's it is in demand. But then I said, okay, if I want to take a step back and what I want to do next. I think I'm just gonna have to be very I think I'm just gonna have to be very focused moving forward.
Well, and it's about so we do business with people we like and trust and know, And if they don't feel that we have the experience of the background, then what's their motivation to give you that work besides a hell of a price on a break on the price?
And the break on the price is not the deciding factor for bigger companies.
That's right. It's not going to be. And as a matter of fact, it's not as if they're going to be. That's going to be a badge of honor that we paid less for something. It has to be something else, like about you have a process that no one else has, so they got behind you. They're jumping on board for that kind of stuff, right? But it's
exactly.
It's going to be a question of credibility.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've actually been, what I've been doing is I've actually got into, went out and checked out some other, some other networking groups, and been, after connecting with some people, I think there's some, there are some other people that are, that are interested in, looking into some kind of a partnership, or, how can you apply, how can you, how can you apply my, my experience to new problems?
Right.
And I think because, people who know me personally, you always rather hire someone you know personally than someone off the internet.
For sure, because you just don't know what you're dealing with on that. And that's where building those relationships are so very important on that. And there is some strength in working with collaborative other people, but then it comes down to then who's handling the billing and the invoicing. Because if you're working with somebody, then because if somebody else is billing and invoicing, then you're the subcontractor to that person.
Correct.
Right. So which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but then that's a whole different thing altogether. And then if there's stress or strife with it or something on top of that, then that's something else on top of it. So yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question, Chris.
I think that's, I think that's, sounds like a good answer to me. I can't think of, I definitely cannot think of a better way to answer, because it's just all about, but I think, as you said, all about, like, like about, who you, it's like who you know and trust.
Right. Well, also the thing that, and I think I don't know. I think it was Shomo not Shomo. It was Simha, who talked about this, and it was about scalability. And do you have, and this Simha is someone that regularly attends my webinars, and so just to let you know who I'm talking about. What he was, one of the things he pointed out is about the fact that if you're solo onto your own, what happens if the scope of the work is out of your wheelhouse, or you don't have there's not enough of you? So that was the other thing about the fact that with the bigger companies is that they actually have mechanisms to bring in other consultants if they need to. And so that would be something else I'd be considering is that, are you big enough to handle our problem? I don't know how to say that differently, but that's, what I mean by that, right?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So did that take care of that, Chris, or is there some?
I think it did.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the other thing I could think of is that if someone is someone who's really smart can also take a big, expensive problem and help sort of break it down into, into a, like if you break it down far enough, and then then you can hire people from anywhere.
Right. It's funny because I'm reminded of a quote I heard I worked with this mid-level accounting firm here in the city, And the owner had said to me, he had this great saying, and that is, you can tell someone's knowledge base by the difficult questions they ask. And if some people ask really difficult questions, then that generally tells you how much, like questions that might stump you, saying, so, then that's an indication of their skill and whatnot on that. So yeah, it's all about looking credible, and how do we go about looking credible and being credible to our potential clients. Thanks, Chris. Okay, so what other questions do people have? And I have people's email. I have 4 email addresses for the it's not the content, it's the glass video series. There's 10 of them in that, and I will send them out. What you will notice is that they're unlisted, which means you have to have a link to get to them. And my preference is that you don't share them with anyone, because this, I said, it's a service that it's an additional value I bring to the table on that. So I will send those out. But what other questions might people have? I could also show you the first video in it if you'd like to. I can't remember. It's like I sent them. Would you guys like to see the first video of the series? If it's not the content, it's the glass. Yeah. Okay. Well, Chris gave the thumbs up, so he's the only one I can see. So let me give me a second to load it up here, or to find it. So. Okay. Okay, and I need this to be in. I'm looking in the wrong folder here. Talk amongst yourselves while I bring this up, since no one else has anything that they're interested in. So, or that a question that they have for me, I'm going to just do this. So I'll search for it in Dropbox. So where did it go? Okay, it's coming up now. And so this is, let me just share my screen. So this is what I'm going to be sending you, and we'll just click to the first video here and see what happens.
So this kind of sounds like the concept of the same boiling water that makes the potato soft makes the egg hard.
Oh, I don't know that one actually, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah, the same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. It's about what you're made of, not the circumstances.
Okay, well, let's watch this and see if this is on the same. So I just need to make sure that we are. That's still on. Okay. And it's like these are, I don't recall the content of it. I have no of it. So here we go. You guys can judge it.
Hello. My name is Luc Bouchard, and I've been a certified life skills coach for over 25 years, and I specialize in bringing clarity to people and processes, and I'm shooting this video from my kitchen. And what I want to talk about in this video is a metaphor that we throw around on a regular basis, and I just want to take it to a bit of a deeper level. And that metaphor is whether or not the glass is half empty or half full. Of course, what that really means is our perspective on how we see things, and whether or not we're going through a situation, and when we see a situation as bad, hence the glass is half empty, we will feel bad, or if we see a situation as half full, we'll generally feel better. But it really is a perspective. It really is a choice to see how we see the world. And that's not what I'm interested in this video. What I'm interested in is what is actually holding the contents. So let me get rid of this, this water out of here. And what I'm very interested in, what I help people recognize and understand, is that regardless of what we put in our containers, our vessels, our glasses, and those are generally some of our experiences, and how they contain and how they color our perceptions, we tend to lose focus on what's really important. And the fact is that we are a vessel, we are people, we are individuals who are inherently doing far better than we're doing far worse. But we tend to see things in a negative light, and we tend to forget that we are people first and foremost, and not the sum of our experiences. And very often the people I work with tend to see their glasses as half empty and kind of icky. And the content in here is cayenne pepper, and I thought I would just use it as a further metaphor to talk about sometimes we don't feel really good about what's in our contents, especially if you drink cayenne pepper and there's a lot in here and a single shot, we would feel the effects later. And what I want to move towards people is not only to see as a glass half full, but also that we are inherently good, and that our experiences are just things that we've put in there, and how we see the world is just stuff we put in there. That we are not inherently bad, we're not inherently flawed, we are great. And not to look at the contents, but to look at the glass. And when we do that, life gets easier. When we do that, we feel relief, and we all want relief. And when we have relief, we feel freedom. And all of us want to be free. We do not want to be feeling constrained or tied down by things that get in our way of our happiness. We want to be free. And when we see the glass is half empty with a whole bunch of crappy contents in it, we're not free. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this made sense to you. And again, my name is Luc Bouchard, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.
So the interesting thing is when I shot that, it was I was actually, this is literally the story for that, and I gave credit to Inspired by Amber Brown, who was at the time was a friend of mine, and I was going in to give platelets. I was going in to donate blood, and I had some time to kill, so we're talking on my phone, and she talks about the fact that, you know, sometimes it's not the contents, it's the glass. And I thought, hey, wait a minute, that's very interesting. And so from that, I felt inspired to do this video. But what ended up turning out is I actually did 10 videos. I never, like, I thought one, and then I did, and then so I shot the one you just saw, and then it was, oh wait, I can do a bit further with this. I can go a bit further and further, and then I have 10 videos. So would anyone like to see the next one, or are you guys again, I need thumbs up or thumbs down. Is that something you guys would like to see another one, or you can ask me a question? Okay, well, Chris is the only one speaking here, so Chris gets to make the decision. So let's watch another one. Okay, and come out wherever you are. Okay. Just give me a second here. It went to the third one and it's not. Okay, here we have the second one. So let me This one is 2 minutes longer than the last one. The last one was just over 3 minutes. This is over 5 minutes, 5 minutes and 14 seconds. So stop and wait. And play.
Hello, my name is Luc Bouchard, and I've been a certified life skills coach for over 25 years, and I specialize in bringing clarity to people and processes. Yesterday I shot a video called "It's Not the Content, It's the Glass," and I talked about the metaphor of glass being half empty and half full, and really we don't want to focus on the content, but we want to focus on who we are as people, which is the glass. In today's video, I want to talk about that concept, but I want to take it a bit further. And I'm going to start with an analogy. So imagine, if you would, there's two friends waiting in line to get into a movie. They have their tickets, and so they're going to get seats, but they just don't know where they're going to sit in the theater. And up ahead of them, they see this person cut in to the line and successfully convinces the people that they get to actually be ahead of them. Well, the first person looks at this and goes, well, that's really not fair, but shrugs it off. The second person sees this and actually takes great objection to it. And he's annoyed, he's pissed off, he keeps talking about it, he's mumbling under his breath, he's shouting stuff out there, because it must be nice that you don't have to wait like the rest of us, and he allows it to ruin his evening. Well, what I find interesting about that is really what's going on in those circumstances. What's really happening when one person will have one reaction and the second person will have a different reaction when they've had the exact same experience. And what I think is really happening there is how people internalize a circumstance on that, and how that is a reflection upon them, and how they see that as a reflection upon them. So the analogy I use is that basically, if you've had this kind of interaction and you react proportionate to it, then that's kind of normal. If you're feeling like something's not good and you state it and you let it go, then that's okay. But what happens when you've had this kind of interaction but you react this much to it? Well, that is disproportionate, and it's incongruent for the actual reaction to that. And what the difference between the first person that kind of shrugged it off and the second person is that the second person took it personally and the first person didn't. And he took it so personally that he actually allowed it to ruin his night. And under the realm of that example of your glass is half empty and half full, I'm going to suggest that the first person who had the incident kind of saw it and it didn't really bother him, whereas the second person did see it and did bother them, and actually had a lot of icky stuff. And why is it that that person was allowing it to be a big hairy deal? Well, somehow he saw that this person had harmed him, whereas this person did not see it as harming him. And so the internalization for the second person was that was kind of some kind of damage to him, and then that's why he was taking reaction to it. I see this on a regular basis in my practice as a life skills coach, and what I help people find is what specifically that trigger is. Or I often will call it why they're pulled sideways on something that seems relatively innocuous. And it happens to all of us. No one is ever just purely like this, free and clear of anything on that. We all have this different things. And as you notice, there's a band of this cayenne pepper that's settled that is really much darker than the rest of it. And sometimes I call this our toxic stuff, the stuff that really gets in our way. Or other stuff may not be great, but this is the stuff that really triggers us. And what I encourage people to do is look at what this is and the whole stuff on here. Because when you're living this experience, you're not free and clear. You're being controlled by the stuff that has happened in your life. And when you're controlled, you're just living the not kind of expanded experience you should or that you deserve. And we all deserve to live more like this than like this. So when we get clear of this stuff, then we have freedom, and with freedom, life is much sweeter. My name is Luc Bouchard. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.
All right, that's video 2, and I've had no drop-off rate, so somehow you guys are liking this and whatnot. Anyone like to talk about how that video impacted them, or what they thought about it, or whether or not what that was like for them? Impressions?
Well, I'm a typical pessimist because I'm Irish. And so,
Is that in the DNA of the Irish?
yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
We're melancholy.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so it's good to point out that I have to see the glass half full. Definitely.
Thanks, Mary, for sharing that. I appreciate that. You guys want to see another? Like,
Yeah, I'd like to.
okay. Well, then Mary basically gets to call it. So let me just do this. And then, okay. So this one is 4 minutes and 17 seconds long. So I'll share my screen. And I guess we can start.
Hello, my name's Luc Bouchard, and I've been a certified life skills coach for over 25 years, and I specialize in bringing clarity to people and processes. And this is the third video in a series called It's Not the Content, It's the Glass. And in yesterday's video, what I talked about was how sometimes we will internalize stuff to be really negative about ourselves, and how you can have two people going through the very same incident, and what will happen is one person will shrug it off and the other person will take great objection to it. And in yesterday's example, I basically drew upon this idea of cayenne water, and that when someone internalizes something very negatively, which is out of context for the actual circumstance, that they likely have a lot of stuff that is not, a lot of inner dialogue and a lot of things that is getting in their way of seeing the world. Well, that's a bit of a simplistic model, and I'd like to take this just a bit further and kind of go a bit deeper on it. And what I'm going to look at is this. And what we have here is, as you can see, 3 different bands of substances. And this is honey, this is cayenne water mixture, and this is the oil. And what these represent is that the honey is really our essence. It's everything that we are. It's our greatness. It's who we've come to be. And it is what it's our greatest aspirations and our greatest potential. But overlaid on top of that is this icky stuff, which is the cayenne water mix, and that is our negative belief system. That is the stuff that gets in the way of us actually reaching our highest potential. It's negative self-talk, it's self-loathing, and it is the belief system that we've picked up over a lifetime of basically crap of people telling us we're not supposed to be and that we bought into. This is also the reason why so many people are in bad relationships or in bad work situations, because they don't believe they deserve better. They don't believe they deserve to be down here. Do you know anyone that potentially is in bad relationships? I know lots of people. The third layer is the oil, and what that represents is social cohesion. And that is what basically gets us throughout the world and how we interact with other people. It is what we've learned along the way on how to basically be social animals. And our social cohesion is so important that we know that when people are not socially connected, that's when there's greater mental health problems, that's when there's greater isolation, and that's when there's greater suicide ideation. And if we don't have this really nailed down and good, we have a lot of problems. And the social cohesion and the negative self-talk in this band here is what I specialize in. It's what I help bring clarity to people to understand the interplay of these two, so that basically you can reduce this so you can get to this. And ultimately, what is this? Well, this is relief. And this is freedom. And we all want to be free. So my question to you is, what's getting in your way of freedom? What's getting in your way of reaching the honey and reaching your greatest potential? And do you want to stay there? Or more importantly, do you deserve to stay here? I don't think you do. I think you deserve greatness, because we're all great. It's all at the base of us. My name's Luc Bouchard. Thanks for listening to this video, and I hope you have a great day.
All right. Well, we've lost one person, so not finding it relevant to him, which is absolutely fine. Any thoughts or comments on that last video?
I like it that it's a series.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was a series that I would shoot one, and then it was just like, oh, I have another one. I could take this a bit further and take this a bit further. And then the other thing that's happening is the oil and the honey really started to solidify more. And then in the cayenne pepper, if I remember correctly, it was it became even more stratified and whatnot. Oh, I shot these 5 years ago. No wonder I don't remember it. I shot them December 3rd. This last one, December 3rd, 2015. So, cool. So, another one, or do you guys want to ask me a question? Because I just feel you're all being polite now. The other thing with this content, specifically these videos that I'm showing, is that they can be difficult to watch because they tend to trigger people on that. So there's and this is what feedback I've received from my videos, especially on personal development, that they're really quite gives a lot of content and information. So yeah, something else on that. So you guys talk to me. What do you want to do? I see Teresa has to go. So, Teresa already left. So thanks, Teresa. And I'd like to know who the Zoom user is and whether or not you've been in my webinars before, because I very seldom get anyone that says they're a Zoom user. I usually see some identification or whatnot on that. So be kind of curious. Oh, just lost someone else. So, what do you guys want to do? Shall we call it a day? Because we have 20 more minutes and Lord knows I have work I could do. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually bring this to an end, this version of the Here to There show. Unless there's any last questions, I'm going to.
Sounds okay to me.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks
Not
for
another
attending
video?
today. Pardon me?
Maybe one more video, or
Yeah, well, if you want to watch the other video, just hang on and I'll show. You're up for it. Well, like I said, I was here for another 20 minutes. I'm here all week. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'll do another one. So you guys can stay if you want to watch another. And
I'm going to drop. Have a good one.
Okay. Thanks a lot,
I'll
Scott.
see you tomorrow morning.
Bye now.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Okay. So where did I do with the list here? 1 second. There they are. Okay. This one is the sum of your experiences.
And Luke.
Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt. I'm curious where you got the music from.
It's free on YouTube.
Okay, so it's all just free.
It's there's different level in YouTube Studio. They have a whole bunch of music you can access for free for your videos, and some of them are some of them they state you have to give credit, others just free to use. So I got it from there or some other place. I think so. So
Yeah, I think there's a lot. There's so much free music out there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's incredible. Because I have a cousin who's been a professional musician for probably about, I don't know, 20, 25 years. And yeah, I think if you don't have if you don't have enough reputation, like, forget it, you're just working for free.
Well, there is that because there's so much competition out there. But here's the interesting thing about YouTube's algorithms for being able to identify pirated music or music that's been taken. I shot a video of my daughter singing at a Christmas concert when she was in grade 4 or 5. And when I posted online, YouTube told me it was the Christmas song was copyright protected. So it was like from a children's choir, they could tell they have some sort of thing on that. So yeah, it's like, and if you're basically taking content that's not yours without permission, you run the risk of being shut down. So okay, let's do this other video.
Hello, my name is Luc Bouchard, and I've been a certified life skills coach for over 25 years, and I specialize in bringing clarity to people and processes. This is a video series that has grown and grown, and it's called It's Not the Content, It's the Glass. And today's video is called The Sum of Our Experiences. And before I get into the content of today's video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I covered yesterday. And as you can see, here's a glass with 3 different bands of substances, and it's a bit different than what I did yesterday because the middle band is not as deep as it was yesterday. But at the bottom, we have honey, and what that represents is our greatness. It's everything it's everything that we've come to be, everything that we can be. It is our highest potential. It's our essence. It's our chutzpah. It is the muchness, if you would, of who we are. However, because of the middle band, we sometimes don't get to our greatness. And the top band is oil, and that represents social cohesion. And it's really about the rules that we've adopted in society and how we get along and how we interact with other people. Well, today's video, which as I mentioned is the sum of our experiences, is going to be talking specifically about the middle band. So let me get rid of this and put this over here. And what we have in this glass is the cayenne water mix, and it's separated on its own because there is so much cayenne pepper in it that it actually divided itself. And what this represents is the sum of our experiences, hence the name of the video. And the bottom part of it is really what we resolved in our life. It represents everything that we've put in the past. It's all the stuff we're okay with. It's the stuff we're no longer tasked with. But the top layer is the stuff that keeps us company at 4 in the morning. It's the stuff that is in our head, and that's what this video is going to talk more about, and also what other videos are going to be. I'm going to be focusing on that for the next couple videos. I call this band the uglies, and it is our fears, anxieties, the shoulds we carry. I should do this, I shouldn't do that. It's when we overreact to innocuous things, and that's what the last video was about, which was called, okay, sometimes it is about the content. It's all our worries about the future. It's our worries about what other people think. It's our worries about the past. And in essence, this is all comes under one category, and that is our negative self-talk. And our negative self-talk is what keeps us from being in the now. It is what stops us from living a present and full lives. It stops us from the honey, because it's all the noise that gets in our way of being present and in the moment. And when you have fears, anxieties, and overreacting and worries all going through your head, it's what keeps us up at night, and it really doesn't allow us to focus here. When I meet with people and they come to see me about wanting to move forward in their lives, the question I always ask them is, what are you deserving of? And in the next video, which is called The Uglies, I really go into greater detail about what specifically gets in our way from accessing the honey. It is looking at what our negative self-talk is rooted in, and I really hope you're going to check that out. Now, I mentioned 4 in the morning. There's a TED Talk by Reeves called The 4 a.m. Mystery, and I really recommend you check it out. Here's a screenshot of it, and if you just do TED Talk Reeves 4 a.m. Mystery, you should come to this fairly easily. It's 11 minutes long, 11 minutes and 4 seconds, and it's very clever about everyone that's ever written about or sung about or talked about being up at 4 in the morning. It's got some really weird references to it, and I really recommend you check it out. In closing, people will often say to me, okay, well, yeah, I know I have the uglies, Luke, but how do I deal with it? Well, the first thing is you have to be aware of it. And that's what this video is intended to do, is to actually bring to your attention the idea that you have this negative self-talk and it's this stuff in your head. And then the next important step is, after awareness, which is the thing of, well, what do you want to do about it? And do you like living in the uglies? I know they don't serve me. And there comes a time where you have to decide whether or not you want to have this stuff in your head, and is it serving you? And or more specifically, what's your payoff to keep it? And that's the question. What is your payoff to keep the uglies? We're need-driven organisms. How can we still have them? I know for a fact that we all deserve to reach towards our greatness. We all deserve to live life to the fullest. And if we're not doing it, we're playing small. I got to a point in my life where I'm tired of playing small, and I refuse. That's why I do these videos. I refuse to play small. And I encourage you, if you're playing small, to stop it. You deserve more. My name is Luc Bouchard. Thank you so much for watching this video. There's going to be another one coming after this one. I'll probably be shooting it tomorrow. It's called The Uglies. And I hope you have a great day. You take care.
All right. Well, we've indulged for my videos. Thank you very much. I will send out the list to all the people that asked for it. And unless there's any last thoughts, I'm going to close the third version, or the third segment of the Here to There show off. So
Thanks,
okay.
Luke.
You're welcome. Take care, Chris. Actually, just Chris, hold on. The other Zoom user, can I just get you to sign out? I'm just going to have a brief conversation with Chris. Thank you. Okay.
And I think we're still recording, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.